I need you to do me a favor right now. Go to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever you use this prompt. Write me a launch email for my new online course about financial literacy. That's our example. Go ahead. And you know what you're going to get back? The same email that 10,000 other people got back today. And it's going to start with something like, are you ready to take control of your financial future? And it's going to have probably 3 bullet points. And it's going to end with, don't miss out, sign up today. And it's going to sound like it was written by a very enthusiastic intern who's never actually met you before. That's the problem. And if you're a solopreneur, a course creator, or a founder, and you're launching something you actually care about, that generic robotic sounding content actively hurting you, and your audience can smell it from a mile away. They've been trained to scroll past it, and every time you hit publish on something that doesn't sound like you're teaching your audience to ignore you. So today I'm going to break down exactly why AI content sounds the way it does, why most of the advice you're getting about using AI for your business is setting you up to blend in instead of stand out, and what I actually do with my clients to make AI sound like them on their best day and not a robot on its worst. My name is Emily. I run Commit Me Co, and this is the conversation that nobody in this space is having. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. AI doesn't have a voice. It has a statistical average of every voice that it has ever trained on. So when you type a prompt into ChatGPT and hit enter, what you're getting back is the most probable next word over and over based on patterns from millions of pieces of text written by millions of different people. And so that's not your voice, that's everyone else's voice. And at the same time, that means it's nobody's voice. And here's where it gets worse. When people talk about AI generated content in the marketing world, they usually mean one of two things. Either they typed a lazy prompt and got a lazy output, which no shade, we've all done that. Or they spent 20 minutes engineering the perfect prompt and got something that sounds fine, but polished, professional, and completely forgettable. Because polished and professional is the default mode of AI, and that is its comfort zone. It's been trained on so much corporate content, so many marketing blogs, so many top 10 tips to grow your business articles, that when you ask it to write marketing copy, it defaults to marketing speak. And so it's buzzwords, call to action, the exclamation points. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, like very marketing. And there are entire agencies in this city, in this market, they're basically running that exact play. They will charge you a retainer, plug your brief into an AI tool, maybe tweak it a little bit, slap a logo on it, and call it a content strategy. And I'm not going to name names. That's not the point. But the point is that the bar is on the floor. And if you're settling for AI generated content that sounds like AI generated content, you're paying for mediocrity, or worse, you're getting mediocrity for free and thinking you're winning. The question isn't whether you should use AI in your business, because you should. The question is whether you're using it in a way that actually sounds like you or in a way that makes you sound like everyone else. Let me tell you something that changed how I think about this. There's research in behavioral psychology that shows people make trust decisions in the first 7 seconds of encountering content. 7 seconds. So that is roughly the first two sentences of an email, the subject line and the opening line, and that is it. Like that is your window. And what determines whether someone keeps reading or scrolls past is not your offer, it's not your price point, and it's not even really your credentials. It's whether your content feels like a real person wrote it, specifically, whether it feels like the same person they've been following and learning from and connecting with wrote it. Voice consistency is the foundation of trust in a digital first world. And I don't mean brand voice in the way that your marketing textbook defines it, like our brand is innovative, approachable, and forward thinking. That is not voice. That is a mood board. I'm talking about the actual rhythm of how you speak, the words that you naturally reach for, the things that you would never say, the start sentences, whether or not you use contractions, whether you swear a little bit, whether you tell stories before you make your point, whether you lead with the data. That is voice. And every single one of you listening to this has a voice. It's not something that you need to create, and it's not something that you need to capture. Here's the thing about solopreneurs, and I say this with love because I am one and I work with them every day. You are the brand. Your audience didn't follow a logo, they followed you, your ideas, your perspective, your way of exploring things. So when your launch emails suddenly sound like they were written by a different person, because they were, the person is a language model, but your audience can feel it and they might not be able to articulate it, and they might not think, oh, this is written by AI, but something feels off and the temperature changes and they disengage. I had a client last year who had been writing all of her own content for 2 years, built a really engaged email list of like 3,000 people, good open rates. And then she got overwhelmed during a launch and she started using ChatGPT for her emails. Her open rates dropped by almost half in 2 weeks. And she thought her list was dead, but it wasn't dead. Her voice was dead. So we fixed it and those numbers went back up. But those were 2 weeks of a launch that she couldn't get back. So the lesson is not don't use AI. The lesson is don't use AI without teaching it who you are first. Okay, this is the part where I'm going to pull back the curtain on what I actually do because nobody in this market is talking about this with any sort of specificity. They'll say AI powered content or content in your brand voice and leave it there, and that tells you nothing. So I want to talk about voice training, the way I do it. And it starts before any AI tool gets involved. I start by listening. I read everything a client has written, emails, social posts, website copy, even voice memos, DMs if they'll share them. And I look for patterns in not what they say, but how they say it. So do they use short, punchy sentences or long, flowy ones? Do they start stories with questions? Are they formal or casual? Do they hedge with I think or maybe or declarations? And what phrases do they repeat without realizing it? Then I build what I call a voice profile. So not a brand guide. Brand guides are about what you want to project. A voice profile includes things that a brand guide would never include. Like this person never uses the word synergy. And if you put it in their copy, they will throw their laptop, like real specific stuff. That voice profile then becomes the instruction set that feeds into the AI. And I'm not talking about like a one-line prompt that says, write this in a casual, friendly tone. I'm talking about detailed multi-layer prompt architecture that includes sentence structure patterns, vocabulary preferences, topics the person gravitates towards, things to naturally avoid, rhetorical style, relationship to the audience. And then this is the part people skip because they think AI should just work out of the box. There's an iteration process. The first draft from the AI, even with a great voice profile, is maybe only 70% there. It captures the general tone, but it misses the specific moves. So we edit. A human being like me goes through and adjusts and doesn't rewrite it from scratch, but it's fine tuning. And every round of editing feeds back into the system. So the next draft is closer. This is what I mean when I say AI that sounds like you on your best day. Your best day is when you're clear, you're confident, you're saying exactly what you mean without overthinking it. And that's the version of you that AI should be capturing, not your rushed at midnight version, not your I'm trying to sound professional version, but your real voice just turned up. Also, by the way, this is not a new concept. Ghostwriters have been doing this for decades. The difference is that a ghostwriter costs you $5,000 to $10,000 a month and works on your timeline. But what I build is a system. So once it's trained, it generates content consistently at scale and it gets better over time because it's learning from your data. And that's a fundamentally different value proposition. This brings me to the thing I'm most passionate about. And honestly, the thing that separates what I do from everybody else in this space is that there's a massive difference between using an AI tool and building an AI system. A tool is ChatGPT. A tool is Jasper. A tool is whatever AI feature your email platform just launched this quarter. And tools are great. I use them every day. But a tool is only as good as the person using it in that moment for that task. So there is no memory, there's no accumulation. Every time you open a new chat window, you are starting from zero, even if ChatGPT like knows you a little bit. A system is different. So a system remembers, it has your voice profile baked in. A system has your launch email sequence templated and automated. So when you're ready to launch, you're not staring at a blank page at 11 p.m. wondering what to write. A system tracks what's working, open rates, click through rates, conversion data, and feeds it back into the next launch so that every launch is better than the last one. Let me paint you a picture. You're launching a new coaching program, and without a system, here's what this would look like. You spend 2 weeks writing 12 email launch sequence from scratch. You're up late, you're second guessing every word, you're copying and pasting between platforms, you forget to set up the automations, your tracking is a mess. And by the time the launch actually happens, you're so burnt out that you can barely promote it. Does that sound familiar? Now, here's what this looks like with a system in place. You open your dashboard, your email sequence is already drafted in your voice because the system knows how you talk to your audience during a launch. You review it, you make a few tweaks. Maybe you want to add a personal story. Maybe you want to change the angle on email number 7, and it's done. So your automations are set, your tracking is live from day one, and when the launch is over, you'll have actual data that tells you which emails performed, which subject lines hit, and what you can optimize next time. And that's the difference between a tool and a system. The tool will save you an hour, the system will save you a career's worth of burnout. And here's what I find wild. There are agencies in this market charging $20,000 a month for an ongoing retainer, and all they're doing is using a tool on your behalf. There's no system being built, there's no accumulation. When you stop paying, you have nothing. When my clients finish their intensive with me, they own the system. It is theirs. and it keeps working whether I'm involved or not. And so that's the difference between renting someone else's AI and owning your own. One more thing I want to address before I wrap this up, because I know some of you are thinking it. Your email platform, ConvertKit campaign, Mail, Go High Level, whatever you use, they all have AI features now, and they all have that little sparkle button that says generate with AI. And I know the temptation is to think, well, my email tool has AI built in, so why would I need anything else? I'm going to be really honest with you. That built in AI tool does not know you, it does not know your audience. It doesn't know that you always open with a story. It doesn't know that you refuse to use scarcity tactics because they feel gross and to you. It doesn't know that your audience responds better to data than emotions or vice versa. It knows nothing about you. It is the same generic AI that everyone else on that platform is using, which means it's producing the same generic content for everyone. That is the platform trap. And the convenience of the sparkle button makes you think you're being efficient, but what you're actually doing is homogenizing your content with every other user on the platform. You're all starting to sound the same. And your audience, your specific particular audience who followed you because they don't like everyone else, they notice. This is not an anti-AI argument. I literally run a business built on AI, but this is an anti-lazy AI argument. The technology is incredible. What you can build with it is genuinely transformative, but only if you put in the work to make it yours. Only if you train it, only if you treat it like a collaborator that needs to learn your style and not a vending machine that spits out content when you press a button. The founders who are going to win in the next 5 years are not the ones who use AI the most. They're going to be the ones who use it the best. And best means when it sounds like them, it runs automatically and it gets smarter over time. That's a system, and that is what I build. And honestly, that is what every solopreneur launching something they care about deserves. So here's what I want you to take away from this. If you're using AI for your content and it doesn't sound like you, that is not a tool problem. That is a training problem, and it is solvable. If you're launching something this year, a course, a coaching program, a product, nonprofit campaign, whatever it is, and you're dreading the content creation piece, you don't need to grind harder. You need a system that works as hard as you do in a voice that actually sounds like yours. And that is what we do at Commit Me Co. We build launch communication systems in 1 week, trained on your voice, fully automated, tracked from day one. If that sounds like what you need, the link is in the description. And if you're not ready for that, that's cool too. Just stop settling for content that sounds like everybody else's, because you are better than that and your audience knows it. Now make sure that your AI knows it too. I'm Emily. This is Committed, the Commit Me Co podcast, and I'll see you in the next one.